Chapter 6.7 A Glass Divide. That morning, Retta strapped her boots, grabbed her journal, and crept into the common room of the ship. Tobias, again, was asleep in his chair. His feet were kicked up on the table, his hand rested on his stomach, and Alpha slept by his side. Retta crept up beside him, looked at his monitor, and saw Yana's tracker blip disappear from the screen. "Where'd she go?" Retta whispered beneath her breath, and Tobias stirred. What you doing, girl?" "I'm looking for Yana," he mumbled as he fell back asleep.
"I told you. Wait till morning."
"It is morning, Tobias." He looked at an old, black watch on his wrist, the kind people used before links came into the mainstream.
"Well, looky there. You're right."
Tobias slid his feet off the table, onto the ground, and startled Alpha. She woke up, looked at Tobias and Retta, and slowly rolled over to fall back asleep. Tobias cracked his knuckles, sniffled, and squared himself to his monitor.
"All right, let's see where she went."
He scrolled the map on the screen and whispered,
"Where are you? Ah, there she is."
Yana's blip moved across the screen.
"She's in the Fairskin section."
"Fairskin?"
"That glass dome at the edge of town? That's where the Fairskin live."
"Thanks," Retta said and stood up from the monitor. "You coming?"
Nah, he said. "Go ahead. I gotta meet a friend later."
"A friend?"
"Yeah."
"Is it a lady friend?" Retta teased and hoped for more info.
Might be.
That's not a no, Retta thought. "I'll pry more later." "Well, have fun," Retta said, left, and then turned around. "And call me if you need me."
"Me? Call you?" Tobias chuckled. "You're getting cocky, kid."
"Maybe," she said with a smile. "See ya." Retta went out on her own, got to the back door, and stopped. She flicked out her link and texted Karada, or technically, Juniper. "Hey, I was wondering, can we do that follow-up interview today? I have to stop by the Fairskin area, if you're around there." "Hi, Red. Yes, that would work. I'll be there. I'm working Karada's show."
"Oh, really?"
Retta teased her.
"Maybe you can tell her what you told me yesterday."
"Maybe I will. Text me. I'll be by the Glass Palace." Retta stowed her link, looked out to the rain-soaked Ironhide City, and saw the giant crystal dome atop a volcano glistening in the distant light. "There's a story there," Retta thought as she looked at the Fairskin dome. "How'd the Ironhide end up underground while the Fairskin are up there?" A twinge of excitement fluttered in her heart. Retta squeezed her notebook in her pocket and followed in her mother's footsteps. Let's find out. She stepped into the rain and made her way to the Fairskin's crystal dome. The closer she got, the more dead bots she saw lining the streets. What started as a lone bot hung on a street corner turned into 3, then 4 lined against the walls. Then the bots piled into open graveyards, stacked on top of each other, rusting in Eo's constant rainfall. The graffiti spread the same way. At first, it was only small messages, the size of window panes, calling for the bots to go. The closer Red went to the Fairskin, the larger they became, until eventually graffiti spanned the entire sides of buildings, with Nexus emblazoned in black paint and crossed out by large, red X's. The empty, silent streets became worse. The rhetoric was violent. There were no signs of life outside or in. Even the gentle, subtle glow of lights disappeared like a burnt-out flame. This was a no-man's land, where only the dead remained. That was, until the divide, a 50-yard stretch of an empty glass field. It was a clear line where the Ironhide buildings stopped, where the rusted, destroyed bots piled up, and where the graffiti ended. Across the no-man's land was the fortified, radiating, gleaming glass dome. The entrance was a gate guarded by 2 towering bipedal bots that were 10 feet tall. They glistened with chrome, and their bright green eyes reflected off the glass expanse that separated the Ironhide from the Fairskins. Creepy, Retta thought, and stepped onto the expanse. The guardbot's eyes turned red and glistened off the rain-slicked glass.
Halt!
Both said in unison, with chest-shaking, robotic voices.
What is your business?
I'm going to see Karada's concert, Retta made up on the spot. I'm a visitor. The bots took a moment to register what she said amidst the white noise of rain.
Scanning Ironhide facial records.
Their red eyes blinked ominously. They have an entire database of faces on the Ironhide? After a few moments, their eyes turned yellow.
No data found. Face has been added to archive.
That was creepy and not what I wanted.
Please, identify yourself.
Red, Retta responded.
I will need a last name.
Just Red, she said again. The bot's eyes oscillated between red and yellow until it settled on green.
You have been added, Miss Red.
Their eyes went green. Both bots simultaneously stepped to the side, offering clear passage for Retta to enter. Thank you, she said, and walked across the expanse as both guards stared at her. Their unblinking eyes looked through her soul and haunted her. I don't like this, she thought. With these bots spreading, Luca doesn't even need to be here to be here. His omnipotence was growing. Past the two bots, and nestled within an enclosed tunnel were two sliding white glass doors. It surprised Retta how easily accessible they were. There were no checkpoints, fingerprint readers, or security measures. The Fairskin were confident in the bot's ability to guard the gate. Retta approached, and the doors opened. A bright light blinded Retta, and after her eyes adjusted, she didn't expect everything to be so white. The pavement, the buildings, and the dome above were all made from the same white monochromatic glass, like the sliding doors. It made the city look drained of color, as if it lived in black and white. And by black and white, she mostly meant white. The Fairskins were pale white and almost transparent the way their blue veins showed through their skin. Not a drop of natural light graced them, and they had no need for melanin. Rather than be illuminated by the fiery core of the planet like the Ironhide, the Fairskin were bathed in artificial, constructed white light. Lights arched along the dome, so blindingly bright Red couldn't even see the rain just outside. It was dry. It was like they made their own sun, and the Fairskin lived in their own separate world from the Ironhide. Everything about it felt unnatural. The white buildings that blended in with the white ground, the bots that followed pedestrians like dogs on leashes, and its lifeless, monochromatic ubiquity. The only building that caught Retta's eye was a gleaming stadium in the center of the city. Its jeweled edges refracted rainbow light beams off its glass housing, and apt signage in large, bold, bright red lights declared it the Glass Palace. Retta's link vibrated. Tobias's tracker caught Yana's trail. Her green dot blinked on Retta's screen and stopped at the palace. Retta looked up and saw Yana in the distance, climbing the roof of the Glass Palace. She slipped into a rooftop entrance and entered the building. Great, Retta said, and prepared to find their renegade amputee. Time to sneak into the goddamn central hub of this city. She sighed. This would be a lot easier if Deegan were here. Unlike the Ironhide's rain-ridden, empty streets, the Fairskins had no weather to contend with. They congregated in large crowds and lined up at the Glass Palace's entrance for Karada's show. Red thought, and whipped out her link to text Juniper. Hey, I'm by the Glass Palace. There's a huge line. You around here? Yes. You can use the back entrance. I'll come outside. Perfect. Retta stashed her link and squeezed through the crowd outside the Glass Palace. She shimmied between bots and people alike, who didn't feel obliged to move, but were pleasantly content to stare at her. It was obvious she wasn't Fairskin, but Retta knew how to ignore stares. She went around the Glass Palace to the ugly backside most patrons never saw. It was industrial and bare at its rear, empty except for Juniper waiting tepidly by an exposed metal door. Hey, Retta said, and approached Juniper hidden in the shadows. Hey, Red, she said as she uncomfortably rubbed her arm. Retta pretended not to notice. So you work with Karada? Yeah. That makes you the best person to talk with her about those bots. Juniper was still sheepish. Yeah, it does. You have time? Doesn't the show start soon? It does, but I felt like I needed to tell you something about Celeste. I felt like I could trust you. Sure. The only reason Karada trusted Red was because Red pretended to be Juniper in her head. Retta pulled out her notebook, clicked her blue pen, and opened to a blank page. What about Celeste? Juniper looked nervous, but prepared. Juniper hid in a dark corner, underneath a security camera, where it couldn't see them. And, moments later, an eerie silence surrounded them. The kind of silence only Karada could make. My name isn't Juniper, she said, with forced courage. It's Karada. I'm Karada Almadani. Retta did her best to act surprised. Oh. She did not do well. You asked about Celeste yesterday. Yeah, I did, Retta said. Celeste came to me before she disappeared. It felt like a confession, like a guilty secret Karada held close to her chest. But everyone knew Celeste was gone. The entire galaxy knew. When a loud voice like Celeste's goes silent, the whole galaxy notices. Yet guilt sowed its roots deep in Karada's heart. She knew more. She warned me something bad was happening with the bots. What kind of bad? Retta started writing in her notebook. I don't know, but it was serious. She told me to run away, but I didn't. I stayed, and I think it only got worse. Worse how? More bots came. At first there were only a few, then there were more. Then they would help me perform. Now they are the entire show. It happened so quickly. Celeste left to investigate them, and I think Karada was rambling, laying bare all the guilt she held hidden. It's okay. Retta rested a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Do you know where she went? Sunstra, I think, Karada said. She followed the bots. Retta noted the tip and thought, okay, if I follow the bots, maybe I'll follow Mom. She had the feeling there was something more nefarious happening than bots replacing dancers, but Retta wasn't sure what. Thanks for letting me know, Juniper. I mean, Karada. It's okay. I just felt like I needed to tell someone. Of course. From inside the glass palace, Retta heard an enormous crowd gathering. Your show's about to start. Yes, Karada's show is about to start, she said, dressed as Juniper. And I think I have something to say to Karada. Retta turned her head, wondering what she meant, and then remembered their interview together. I think you said you'd tell Karada she didn't work this hard to promote the things that'll replace her, right? Juniper smiled. Right. So go show them the fiery heart of the Ironhide. Juniper nodded, went to the door, and opened it. She held it open for Retta, looked back at her, and said, If I'm going to do this, I'd like you there to document it. Of course.